Look, you're in the radio business, and it's interesting to see that people are really leaning into listening to long-form interviews, whether it be on radio or on long podcasts. What do you make of Joe Rogan's endorsement of Trump? Will that make a difference?
I think it will make a difference with a younger demographic that has often been told you can't be Republican. They assume that Republicans are bigots and racists and xenophobes. Joe Rogan and his endorsement, I think, will influence that demographic that hasn't necessarily paid close attention to politics. I mean, in my case, I'm a gay Republican and younger than the average host who's on the air. And I've traveled around the world to 113 different countries, including Australia, and I'm kind of proud of that. So I think there are a lot of people who are attempting to break the stereotype and say, hey, you should give the Republican Party a chance because the things you've been told about Donald Trump and about us as Republicans probably aren't true. And we have a tendency to deliver for you in a way that'll make you happy.
What's the wildest thing that you've seen or that you've heard from some lefties that are just have lost the plot, have heard so many lies from the media that they're a little bit brainwashed? And I've heard in the lead up to today that some college campuses have set up cry rooms and that there are therapy dogs out there just for people to prepare with the possibility of a Trump victory. What have you seen or heard on the ground? Anything as insane as that?
Oh, well, that's the new normal in the United States. It's a kind of a pathetic weakness, which is shocking to me. And I talk about it frequently. I will be here at work tomorrow morning, whether Donald Trump is elected or not. I've staked a lot of my reputation on the Trump victory and on Republicans. And it's going to hurt very badly if we are smacked down. But as a man, you've got to show up for work. You've got to continue to argue for your ideas. You can't lash out at people and be angry and vicious and mean because you're disappointed. I mean, anybody who's been in politics for years knows you win some, you lose some, and you have to shake it off and evaluate why the voters didn't accept you or why they rejected your ideas. It's a very bizarre a mindset that we have taught young people in the United States. And honestly, I hope if Donald Trump does win, it will be the wake-up call to say, no, wait a minute, maybe the folks who are a little left of center need to do some soul searching.
I hope so. Look, I think that wake-up call is desperately needed. Look, I want to get your thoughts on what's possibly different about this election. We know in previous elections that there's been the shy Trump voter effect. Do you think that that's what we will also see happen this time around, that people will be voting for Donald Trump, but they might not be saying that to pollsters or out publicly?
Oh, definitely. I think if Donald Trump goes into the close, and most of the polls on the East Coast are getting ready to close in the next half hour, within a couple of points, you've got to figure there are plenty of people who have been bullied into silence. They're worried about losing their jobs. They're worried about losing the friendships that they built over the years. Family members won't speak to them. I mean, in some cases, there are people who are getting canceled. So they have changed their MO over the years, and they've kept it to themselves. And this is the one day when they get to walk in private, cast a vote for somebody that they want to see lead the country. So I think that if it is tight, and it looks like in most of these swing states, it's pretty tight, you're going to see a point or two that will surprise everybody. That's what happened in 2016. And when I suggested that back then, there were a lot of people like, oh man, this guy's crazy. How could this be true? And I was like, they're listening to you when you're attacking them, and they're not going to tell you the truth to your face. Now, the truth is going to hurt for the people who aren't listening.
Yeah, sadly, it happens here in Australia as well, even though we're far away. But yeah, I think that Trump derangement syndrome is real. Look, finally, if Donald Trump does not win tomorrow, today, whenever we finally get that result, if it's Kamala Harris, Donald Trump is going to be too old to run again. What do you expect will happen to the MAGA movement that he's created?
Well, it's a challenge for Republicans because this is a very important element within the party. And it's clear that the Democrats are not going to secure our southern border. We have a real crisis with crime. I will tell you, we have a humanitarian crisis where people are literally dying in rivers, in deserts. They're being sex trafficked. Children are being abused. Republicans are very concerned about that. So whoever the new leader of the party is, assuming that's not Donald Trump, they're going to still have to take these very seriously. I assume they'll have a different personality. One of the unfortunate realities that I've had to face, even as a former television reporter, is that our national media here in the United States seems to have picked a side, and that's troubling to me. So you could have someone who's a total goody two shoes, nice person who is very reasonable and thoughtful, and I think it's going to be hard for them to get a fair shake with the national press. They will be vilified and called Hitler. And one of the reasons I hope Donald Trump wins is I think that might check those bad instincts and habits that have developed with our national media, and maybe, have the press go back to being the refs who will call things fairly instead of putting their thumb on the scale.
Let's hope so. A radio host and commentator, John Reid, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.